The Kimber Elite Custom in 45 ACP. Let's check it out. Kimber got their start in 1979, and for the past 45 years, they've been making really nice, high-quality 1911s. They have a huge line of different styles, different models that you can choose from with different type features. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Eclipse model. And again, this is in 45 ACP, which is the traditional caliber for the 1911. It has a full 5-inch barrel, which is the government length. And this is just a beautiful handgun, which Kimber does exceptionally well. One of the things I've always said about Kimber is you put it out on the table and it's just beautiful. Now, Kimber did go through some QC issues a few years ago, but they've gotten that straightened out and they are really producing, again, that traditional Kimber quality. I'm a big fan of 1911s, and honestly, 1911s are more popular today than they ever have been. What's funny is a lot of people have now gone to 9mm, which has eclipsed the popularity of the 45. But there's nothing like taking a good old 45 ACP or 10mm, which also is offered in the Eclipse model. Guys, there's just something traditional. Considering the U.S. military used them from 1911 and still currently using them today. And we want to give a big thank you to Kimber for sending the Eclipse Custom 1911 for this review. There are so many different Kimber models, and it's just great to have the opportunity to bring a number of these so you can make the best choice, because there's a lot of choices out there. The Kimber Eclipse Custom. One of the things about Kimber is they have a lot of different models. Different configurations, different accessories on each one. And so it's one of the reasons why I like reviewing Kimber 1911s. I mean, it's a 1911 and we can go through the details. But there are so many models that I really like to have some different options for you guys to show you what's out there, because here is the Aegis Elite. We just did a review on it. It's optics ready. It has suppressor height sights. It has the bob at the back. And it has totally different slide serrations. And so this gives you a whole different experience, and yet this is something that a lot of people like. And then some, because it changes your grip angle here with the bob, they'd rather have the straight grip. And two, just classic without the optics ready version. I mean, they're just differences, and there's a lot of different options on the Kimber website. Now with the Eclipse Custom, we're going to go ahead and drop our magazine. It is a 7-round magazine that comes with the gun. Now this actually happens to be an 8-round because we went to the range the other day. And then we have an empty chamber. So there's a lot of lore around the 1911 because, again, it served with the U.S. military from 1911 to 1985. And then it's still currently being used in different operations, different special forces groups. It's used with a lot of law enforcement agencies, especially elite CERT teams and SWAT teams. And it's used by civilians all over the world. But when we start getting into upgrades, that's where things really change. Now we're going to compare this to a basic 1911, but I'm going to show you some of the features first. We have a stainless steel slide, and it is a brushed finish to it. We do have the Kimcoat Pro finish here on the top and right here at the serrations. And so it gives it a really nice contrast, and it matches the same color of the frame, which is all steel. I mean, this is a full-size government model, which is a 5-inch barrel, And so it gives it some heft to it, which with 45 ACP, it makes it really comfortable to shoot. This does come in 10mm as well, and I think you get an additional round, 8 rounds, versus the 7 rounds. But you can use 8-round 1911 magazines in here as well. We do have the G10 scales. One of the things about G10 is there's so many different options, color options, texture options, and the grips just really are durable. And that's one thing that I really like about the G10 is you can go with about anything you want. And that texturing is very well done. But you have a groove here, and this allows for your thumb just to rest right here when you have that two-handed grip. The sights are Novak style, and you have 2 dots at the back and a dot at the front, and we have a dovetail. But a very beautiful handgun. I mean, it's definitely just unique. I love how the Kim coat is more of like a titanium gray, which matches really well with the slide. It's not a stark contrast. We have a high ride beaver tail. This really allows for you to get your hand up. It distributes the recoil some at the web of your hand from the original nub grip safety that they had. It is a grip safety. We have an extended frame safety. We have a Commander or Delta style hammer, and that's going to keep that from any kind of hammer bite. And one of the things about the original tanged hammer is it could give you some hammer bite if you had really large hands. Slide stop, which is checkered, but the checkering here on the front strap, this is 30 lines per square inch, and that is exceptional, and it's very time consuming, and it's done very well. Also here on the mainspring housing, it is a flat mainspring housing with the 30 lines per square inch. It's not polymer. It's a really solid grip to it, and this is steel. A lot are aluminum. So this is not really for weight savings. The serrations at the front, I mean, great for press checks, and then of course at the rear, I mean, they're very grippable, and they're wide enough to where you can really get a good grip on it. Magazine release is right here, and it is also checkered. And while those little things make a big difference, you know, they are time consuming, it does cost more in manufacturing, and so it does reflect in the price. We do have a skeletonized trigger. It is a match trigger, and it does have a set screw to be able to adjust your over travel. One thing about the 1911 is you can't switch the magazine release to the other side because it's the way it's designed. Kimber engraved just on the side of the slide, and then over here the Eclipse Custom. Now, custom actually refers to the size, and the 5-inch models with Kimber are the custom models. But to give a good contrast, I brought out my Colt government model Series 70 1911. This is a basic bare bones. It's not a lot different than your standard GI models, except that it has that hot salt blue. We're going to go ahead and drop our magazine, check the chamber, and we're empty. Now, there are some things about this gun, and this was the model pretty much that served the U.S. military for so long. But there are upgrades that are made and have been made to the 1911 to really update it. And one of the big ones is this tanged grip safety. I mean, it's just a small nub. And really, when you shoot these side by side with the beaver tail, there is a big difference in recoil. I mean, you can feel how the beaver tail actually just kind of distributes that recoil out in your hand. Also, typically we have a arched mainspring housing, which this is an aftermarket. It's actually a Packmeyer. I've had this on for years. And then the flat mainspring housing, well, you can see that checkering is really well done. Here, it's just a rubberized coating. Usually it's just straight serrations. And then on the front strap, and that's probably one of the biggest areas where it really makes a difference. We have the 30 lines per square inch on the front strap. Here on the Series 70, it's just smooth. And to be honest, guys, where you grip your gun, the grips aren't even that important. It's front and back. And so as I grip the gun here and here, this is where I get most of the control over my handgun. And so this just allows that. Now with those G10 grips, it gives you extra control, especially with the tips of your finger and part of your thumb, and it just allows for you to get a good solid grip on it. But really the most important part are these two areas, seriously lacking on your Colt. Traditional frame safety is this kind of half moon crescent, but here we have the extended frame safety that really allows you to be able to pull that up and get a good solid drop on your safety. Sights are a big upgrade. We have our combat sights. It's just a notch at the back, and it's just a post at the front, and we have 3-dot on the Eclipse. And then even with the finishing, of course, the hot salt bluing is beautiful and I love it, and I like that on a gun, but it does require more maintenance. But you can actually get surface rust on these if you're not really careful. With the stainless, it's going to make a big plus. Plus, with the Cerakote or Kimcoat finish, this is going to actually give you extra protection. And of course, the skeletonized competition trigger versus just your small Crescent 1911 GI model. Now the Eclipse does have a full-length guide rod. That is huge, guys. If the full-length guide rod allows for the slide and the frame to mate together better, it just gives you a smoother recoil impulse. With the traditional 1911, it has a very short recoil spring guide rod, and the spring continues on out into the plug. Both have barrel bushings. In some of the new models, the barrel actually fits into the slide without the bushing. But the bushing originally was to give us better accuracy. It just tightened up the barrel to the slide, and these can be custom fit, which this is a custom fit barrel bushing. And the ejection port has been flared and lowered on the Eclipse, and you can see it's that traditional ejection port, and this makes it more difficult to feed hollow point ammunition and to extract brass. So guys, there is a lot that has been done to make this more shootable, more effective, a better self-defense option. Do you have to have all those? No. But honestly, if the chips are down, I want to have every advantage I can have. Now, one thing about the 1911 is that it is a single action firearm, and that means that when you put a magazine in and you rack the slide and enter a round, your hammer's in the rear position, you can bring up your safety, and it locks the trigger. But you also have your grip safety, so even with the safety down, it will not activate the hammer unless I have this gripped, and then it'll fire. Because it's single action, it gives it a really nice trigger pull. It's just the trigger breaking the sear for the hammer. Now, one thing that I like is to have that round in the chamber, safety on. This is cocked and locked, and this is the way I like to carry it. When I pull it out, all I have to do is drop my safety, and I'm ready to fire, and then subsequent shots will be ready for fire. And then you can put it on safe when you're done. Well, let's check the trigger pull action. Okay, we have some take up right to here. Gives you enough just to hit a wall, then a very crisp break. The trigger has been custom tuned. Reset is right there. It comes right out. In 1911 triggers, because they're single action, they can be the best triggers on any firearm. Check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge. 3 pounds, 7.9 ounces. 3 pounds, 7.8 ounces. We're talking about 3.5 pounds really consistently. Weight on the Kimber Eclipse Custom, 37.52 ounces. It is a hefty 1911. Big thanks to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA, one of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. And guys, there's one thing about a 1911 in 45 ACP. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love 9mm also, but 45 is boss caliber. Kimber Eclipse Custom, all steel frame, stainless steel slide. I love the flats that have been polished, and yet you have the black on the top to keep glare down. And then even in the serrations, you have black. It's a beautiful kind of contrast. And then you have the Kimcoat 2 finish that's kind of a gray color. I mean, this is a really beautiful gun, a little flashy actually. Has the Novak style sights, 3-dot G10 grips, but the checkering on the front and back strap really make this a pleasure to shoot in 45 ACP. Very solid, nice racking, and of course you have your front serrations as well. Having that extended slide release, you're able to put your thumb on there as a gas pedal. This is a very smooth shooting gun, very tightly put together. I'll tell you, Kimber makes some of the most beautiful 1911s out there. The finish is just beautiful, and this one is really, because of that stainless and the contrast, really has an incredible look to it. Kind of reminds me of the old AMT auto mags. No malfunctions whatsoever. This thing is run like a top, and really it's that fit
finish, everything fit together to give it accuracy, but yet it still has the reliability. Shoots like a custom gun. And then with the Elite Custom means that it's a 5-inch barrel. Of course, you get the 4.25 inch, which is the Pro, and then they typically do the Ultra, which is the 3-inch barrel. But beautiful guns by Kimber, and there's a lot of choices, but this is really a beautiful handgun.
All right, for disassembly, Kimber does provide a barrel bushing wrench, and with the full-length guide rod, it typically changes the way you disassemble your firearm. Some you pull back and you put a little pin into the guide rod and it locks it. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure the gun's unloaded. We're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber, and point the gun in a safe direction, pull the trigger. So we want to bring the gun up to the muzzle, and then right here is your recoil spring guide rod plug. And here is your barrel bushing. We're going to take this little nub and we're going to put it on the bushing, just like this, and then we're going to turn it to 9 o'clock. Now, one of the problems is that recoil spring is under tension. So as we release our wrench, you want to make sure you have a good solid grip on that recoil spring plug, because it will shoot out. Here we go. Next, we're going to take our plug off. We're going to bring back our slide, and we're going to line this little nub or little cutout to our slide stop. Just like that. Pushing it from the other side. And then just pull out your slide stop. And then we can let the slide just go forward. Then we go ahead and remove our recoil spring. And that's really the only way you can get out your guide rod. And so that's the reason why we do it that way. The guide rod will not come out with the spring attached. Then we're going to take our barrel bushing, turn it to about 5 o'clock position, and just pull it out. And there's a little key right here in the bushing that fits on the inside of your slide to lock that in. Take your barrel link, drop it down, just take your barrel, move it straight out. Not difficult at all, just some little differences with your 1911. Interior of the slide, of course, it is exceptionally well done. No tool marks. It's very smooth. I mean, there is some wear just from shooting it. We shot about 500 rounds through it the other day. One thing I love about the 1911 is it has a full-length rail section here. Here it's cut back just for your slide stop, but still a lot of real estate with your slide. So it gives you better slide to frame fit. But it's just that 1911, and again, very well done. Here's your barrel. It is stainless steel, and we do have it polished right here at the feed ramp. One thing about the 1911 is that this is actually part of your feed ramp on the frame. Reassembly is in reverse order. So first thing we want to do is drop our barrel link. Go ahead and put it into the slide from the front. Take your barrel bushing again, and we're going to go to that about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock position. We're going to drop it in, and then we're going to go to the 9 o'clock position. Next, we're going to take our guide rod, go ahead and place it into next to the barrel. Then we're going to take our recoil spring, put it in. Now we're going to drop our link down at the right position. And that link is where your slide stop is going to go through. So you want to make sure when you're putting it back, you see that. Now we're going to put the slide back over our frame. And you want to make sure your link is visible, it's all the way through, so you can slide in your slide stop. Just like that. And we can put it on safety to give it a little more balance. Take your recoil spring plug, bring it down. Now we can move the barrel bushing with our thumb. We don't have to have the tool. But this is a little bit of a sharp edge, so it definitely helps. So we're going to bring the tool out over our bushing. I'm going to depress our guide rod plug at the bottom. And then once we get it lined up, it'll snap. And so now we're back in place. Disengage your safety, bring back the slide, and you want that little notch to be in place. Lift up your slide stop. Don't drag it along the frame. And once you get it locked into where that detent is, just push up and in. And it'll lock, and you're ready to go. Put your magazine in, test for function, And we're back in business. Now you get your Kimber in a nice cardboard box, but what's better is you get a gun case. Here in the front we have some your information, your lock. Here in the front panel we have a place for extra magazines. And then here in the main compartment we have 2 sleeves for guns. They are padded and you can actually put one in the middle. And then here we have our handgun. Keeps it well protected. Retail price on the Kimber Eclipse Custom is $1,470. Of course, market price is typically less at your local gun shop. Let's talk about some pros and let's talk about some cons. First off, it's a very beautiful finish. The Kim coat finish is gorgeous. I love that titanium in contrast with the brushed stainless steel. And of course, in your serrations, you have that same finish and on the top, which cuts down on glare. You have Novak sights, a 3-dot or Novak style, and a dovetail at the front. We have a full-length guide rod, which makes this very smooth. And the rails on the 1911, which are typical, definitely aid in that as well. Of course, your beaver tail, your commander hammer, flat mainspring housing, really nice, but I love the 30 lines per square inch on the mainspring housing and on the front strap. Really nice trigger, very consistent G10 grips. So why is this better than the others? Well, that's the thing. There's a ton of different choices on 1911s. Again, we brought out the Aegis Elite Custom. I mean, this is a beautiful handgun. 1911, but it's definitely different with optics ready, suppressor height sights, and that little bob at the bottom. And the serrations on the slide are just different. So there are just many options. And really that's what I love that Kimber does. It gives you a lot of options for your 1911 that are high grade options. Accuracy is great. The reliability was perfect. And with 45 ACP, you know, it's a very effective round and you can go up to 10 millimeter. But again, there's a number of different choices. Now, the one con, which you get what you pay for, but you know, $1,470 retail, which would translate quite a bit less on the market. But still, that's a lot of money you're putting out for a 1911. But guys, honestly, 1911s with custom features can run as much as any handgun on the market. And they can get to the $4,000 and $5,000 range. And so with the custom features that go into a lot of Kimber's firearms, it really allows for production handguns to hit that custom level with a lot of the different features. And so that to me is one big plus for Kimber. And as far as any other cons, I would say it's just your matter of if you like this style or not. And again, there's a number of different choices, not only from Kimber, but from a lot of other companies. But whatever you do, buying a really nice 1911, there's just something about it, especially in 45 ACP. Yet 10 millimeter is great, but 9 millimeter has actually surpassed 45 in the 1911 as far as the popularity. Personally, to me, if I only have 7-8 rounds, I want them to really count with 45 ACP or 10 millimeter. The Kimber Eclipse Custom 1911 in 45 ACP or 10 millimeter, beautiful handgun, and it's just one of the many choices that are offered on Kimber America. Guys, it's great to have different options, and yet taking this traditional proven design that served through World War I, World War II, Vietnam, all the way to even current day with special ops groups. 1911 has definitely proven itself, and this little Kimber Eclipse Custom is an absolute beauty. And again, a big thank you to Kimber for sending the Eclipse Custom for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. I love shooting 9mm in a 45.
You might want to say it again.
Well, I like shooting 45 in a 9mm.
You said 9.
Nine. Mine.
Okay.
We'll do that again, that gum.
That them.
Has a very, I don't know if it's the grip or if the way the
Next, we're gonna, no, you can't do that, you goob. The Kimber Eclipse, the Kimber Eclipse, the Eclipse. Raise it up, raise it up. Woo! I've done this all over the freaking place and blah, 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 blah. Makes it hard to do. This just is an incredible gun to take to the range. It's absolutely beautiful. I sound like a freaking,